Alright, hey guys, just figured I'd start the video with the shot of the majestic Professor Pancakes, my often seen, but not seen that much kitty cat, who's very excited today because my next door, upstairs apartment neighbors are, I'm not sure if moving in or I know they moved out the other day, and now there might be no, I don't know. Either way, there's lots and lots of noise and movement and hammering and stuff going on upstairs. So, Professor Pancakes is a very excited kitty cat today. Today, I figured I would do a little 1 year anniversary room tour update. Not really room tour, 1 year anniversary collection tour update. Mostly because recently my collection has changed a good bit. As you can see here, I have a turntable and a stereo and stuff. And just about 3 weeks ago, I sold all of my vinyl records, which I'd had previously. I've always been a collector of vinyl since I was like a teenager. And I just sold them all off, and I wasn't using them as much as I, had previously, partially because that exact thing happened a little while ago, and Mr. Pancakes over here, professor if you will, managed to knock the needle a little bit, the stylus of my turntable. So anyway, it meant that I wasn't using the records that much, and I decided to sell them. And part of selling them was that I got this IKEA shelf freed up, which is kind of nice. So I figured I would go through and show you the way I'm organizing my book collection these days, now that I have had a little bit more room given to the books from the lack of the records. And yeah, like my last video said, it's been a year on YouTube, so here's a nice little update for anybody who has followed me along that long. I think I've done 2 collection videos, I guess. One a year ago, one about 6 months ago, and then this one. So it'll be a nice little update to see where we're at. Let's start with the absolutes and the really big oversized books. So that's basically what I use this shelf for. I believe this is called, it's been such a long time since I've been shelf shopping, but this is, I think, called the Kallax from IKEA. Which is what I had all my records in. It's super convenient for records because it's like a 12 by 12 series of kind of little cubby holes, as you can see. And what that also means is that it fits absolute editions really nicely, and other oversized books, which tend to be right around that kind of height. You can see it just barely clears it, which is nice. So I was able to take those books off of my shelves, which is nice because it gives more room on the shelves for sort of oversized and regular sized books, and put the real big stuff on this bad boy. So let's start over here. I basically have arranged my absolutes in a relative chronological order. I don't think it's perfect, but I might redo it at some point and change it a little bit. But it also is somewhat arranged because of the size limitations of it. Like, I would love to put top 10 up there, but it doesn't fit, so Authority goes there for now. You know what I mean. So first on the left we have Absolute Green Lantern Green Arrow. Really a lovely book from Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams in the late 60s, early 70s. I'm gonna do a review on that pretty soon, I think. I read it a while ago and really enjoyed it. Absolute Dark Knight, which is one of the out of print Absolute books. I don't think it's hundreds and hundreds of dollars, but it is a little bit harder to find. There was a deluxe edition released maybe, I don't know, 8 months or a year ago of the Dark Knight sort of saga, so I think a lot of people got it that way, and maybe they weren't as interested in the Absolute anymore, so I don't think it's extremely expensive. Excuse the throat clearing. Crisis on Infinite Earths, the Absolute edition. My copy's a little bit beaten up. It's a little bit sun damaged, and the actual book itself is not in great shape. But cool story nonetheless. Also one that I have read but have not gotten around to reviewing. Will do at some point in the close future. Absolute Ronin, a lovely book. I reviewed it, so all of the information on that, my thoughts and stuff, is on the channel. But I think it's really awesome, really cool time in Frank Miller's life. Absolute Watchmen, a real classic, probably my first comic book. I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's if not my first, then one of my very first ones that I've read, which I'm sure is the case for a lot of people. And yeah, absolute classic, absolute classic, but very, very cool. And I will talk about it at some point in the future. I just need to reread it to get kind of my bearings about myself, because it's been a while, and I think I would appreciate or at least glean a little bit more out of it, having the knowledge of graphic, art and storytelling that I do now. Absolute Batman, The Long Halloween. This is one that I picked up for like $40 used. It's not in great condition. It's in okay condition, but I picked it up used from a bookstore around here, and I need to review it, but I'm also on the lookout for the other ones. I think there's 3 of these, like I'm not super familiar with the run, but I think it's like Long Halloween, Dark Victory, and Haunted Night. I think that's the order of them. And I'm looking out for the other ones just to complete that Loeb Sale Batman run, because it does seem very cool to me. And eventually, when I get them, I will read them. But I've not gotten around to that one yet. Absolute Authority. I guess I'll just talk about it since it's right here. This is the volume 1, which collects, I think, the first 12 issues, which was Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch. Oh, no. I'm getting that backwards. This is volume 1. This is volume 1 of Authority. This collects the first 12 issues of Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch's run on Authority. This is volume 2, which collects like a sort of a smattering of issues. I think it's like 13 through 19, and then, or 13 through 20, and then maybe like 22, and then 25 through 7 or something. It's a strange thing. There were like a couple fill-in issues in there, but that was like the premier Wildstorm team, sort of at the turn of the 2000s, and I am very interested in reading this. I'm into Warren Ellis as a writer. I'm really into Brian Hitch. I don't know his art very well. Mark Millar as a writer, I'm kind of okay on, but Frank Quitely as a artist, I really enjoy. So I am looking forward to reading these, and they're not super, super long, so I'm sure I will get my impressions to you at some point. Sorry, let me rearrange my camera and myself. If it's super shaky, apologies. It's just the way it's got to be for now. This is the absolute top 10. Another Frank Miller, an Alan Moore work from DC. I picked this up because it was going out of print, and I got it for like, I picked it up from a store for $100. I don't think I got like an amazing deal on it. I think you can probably still find this online for not a super huge amount, but I do want to read that. I have not gotten around to it. Like probably 80% of my collection I haven't gotten around to reading yet. But yeah, it looks cool. It's supposed to be like a takeoff of superhero stuff. Absolute, The New Frontier. Darwin Cook just passed away not too long ago. This is his probably most famous work, kind of a melding of Silver and Golden Age superheroes into that one idea. It looks very cool. Absolute All-Star Superman. This is an empty box. If you can tell, when I read my Absolutes, I take the dust jacket off if they have it, and then I slide it back in there and read the book. I just finished reading this last night, and I loved it. I really, really loved it. So that's going to be reviewed soon as well. That's a Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely combo book, just 12 issues in the All-Star line, and it was so good. I really enjoyed it. Next to it, we have sort of a not complete because they haven't collected more of it, but a kind of Grant Morrison DC Batman slash DC section. This is the Absolute Batman and Robin, Batman Reborn, Absolute Final Crisis, and then Absolute Batman Inc. All of these kind of tie into Grant Morrison's larger Batman and DC Universe run. I am kind of holding off on this run a little bit because I want to get a little bit more knowledge of DC and its continuity and some of the ideas before I read it. Like, for example, the Jack Kirby Fourth World stuff, I want to be more familiar with that because I know Darkseid and the New Gods factor into Final Crisis, and I need to read Seven Soldiers of Victory, and there's a couple other things that I want to read before I jump into it, but I have some of them collected in absolute form for when I am ready for that. And then next to that is the Batman Court of Owls, the first Scott Snyder Absolute that we have, and it is really nice from the look of it. I have not read it because, again, I'm waiting for all the Scott Snyder material to be collected in some way so I can read kind of the whole 50-issue run. I don't know if they're going to continue doing absolutes or if it's going to be switched over to Omni and Oversized format for the deluxe collections. I don't know, but I am looking forward to reading it however they do it. Up here, so the reason for the organization on that basically is chronologically through the DC universe, excluding Authority. Just don't forget about that. So chronologically through here, and then it continues chronologically through here. I might redo it so it's chronologically just across the top. I'm not sure, but this section then, the next shelf, is Wildstorm and America's Best Comics stuff. You already saw the 2 Authority ones. There's also 2 Absolute Planetaries, one of my favorite series, which I have not talked about on the channel, but I will at some point. Once again, that's just a question of me rereading them to be able to give you, my most helpful opinion on it. But really good series either way. Even if I haven't read it recently, I can tell you it's amazing. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Absolute Volume 2, and The Black Dossier. I am trading Volume 1 right now. It's literally behind me on the table to be traded away to a gentleman for a couple different Omni because it is, worth some amount of money, so I'm just going to trade it because I've had it on my shelf forever and I haven't read it, so I can read League in a different way and it won't really upset me that much. And then next to that is Absolute Promethea, Volumes 1, 2, and 3. I know Volume 1 is pretty hard to find. I don't know if Volume 2 is getting up there. And then Volume 3 I think is pretty common. But have not read this series. I started like the first page or two, and then I was like, oh, okay, this is going to take some real brain thought on this one. So I haven't got around to it yet, but again, I will eventually. Down here, we go into some of the Vertigo stuff. This isn't really arranged in any particular way. It just happens to be the way that I put it on the shelf. Absolute V for Vendetta, the 4 Sandman Absolutes, which make up the main 75-issue run. I still have not, a year later after my original collection video, I still have not picked up the 5th Sandman Absolute, which collects Endless Nights and the other miniseries stuff. And I still haven't picked up Absolute Death either. It's been a full year, and I those still haven't, I like those extra things, but they're not super important to me. Absolute Transmetropolitan, Volumes 1 and 2 up here. I think this is going to be a 3-volume series, and I'm waiting for the 3rd volume before I jump in and read it. Absolute Y the Last Man, Volume 1. I think the second one is solicited, or at least has, leaked on Amazon. I think it should be pretty soon. Not too far away. Absolute Preacher. Really nice. If you haven't seen this one, there's probably videos and photos and stuff of it out there. And it's a really nice book. They did a great job with this collection. Like the book itself, heavy, is a really nice bound, or it looks like it's kind of like a leather bound, kind of like fancy tome, sort of like the way they did Sandman. So really, really nice. And then my most recent Absolute collection edition is Absolute Kevin Smith's Green Arrow, or Green Arrow by Kevin Smith, whatever you want to call it. I picked this up for a good price from a gentleman online, and looking forward to reading it just because I like Green Arrow from what I've seen, but I want to get more into it, and I've heard good things about the run. Over here, this is sort of a mix of, we have my 2 Image Rick Remender absolute size books, which is Deadly Class and Black Science. Unfortunately, this Black Science is the glued binding one. If you're interested, just FYI, if you're out there in the world, you can see this has no ribbon on it. It's just direct glued into it. If you ever are out at a comic shop, or Barnes & Noble is really what had these, Barnes & Noble got a shipment of the originals before they got recalled. If you ever see one of these with a green and white ribbon across the top, that means it's the sewn version, and it's a lot more desirable, I think, to a lot of collectors because it looks a lot nicer. You're able to read it, much like this book, which does have a sewn binding, you can see, and is separated from the outer spine. So, yeah. Haven't read Deadly Class yet, or Black Science, but I'm looking forward to them. And then this is just a sort of variety of books kind of books that are sideways, because it's hard to fit them on a shelf in any other way. So this is the Frank Frazetta Snowman book, really an interesting comic from very early Frazetta when he was very young. Kind of racist, pretty racist, but informed by, World War II propaganda and stuff, so not uncommon in that time period. This is Wally Wood's Canon. This is an interesting one. It's a strip reprint of a strip that Wally Wood did for Troops Overseas that Fantagraphics put out like last year, and it's already out of print again, and it's I think become kind of expensive. I've seen it like go up in price online, which I didn't expect. Shattuck, another Wally Wood Western strip, not really done by Wally Wood exactly, but produced by the Wally Wood Studios. Another Fantagraphics reprint. The Private Eye, a Brian K. Vaughan and Marcos Martin book, which is in horizontal format. I read the first like 3 or 4 issues of this digitally when it was coming out at the Panel Syndicate, when it was free, or like pay what you want or whatever. But I never finished it, and I don't even really remember what was going on there. So I'm excited to read that again, or really for the first time. Gray Morrow's Orion, which I talked about a little bit before in a haul video. Very cool Sword and Planet swashbuckling story. A couple different Philippe Drouillet books. I'm still waiting for the third one to come out. This is Delirious, and this is The 6 Voyages of Lone Sloan. There's supposed to be a Delirious 2 from Titan Comics, but it hasn't been solicited yet as far as I know, so I'm looking forward to it, but I don't know when that's going to happen. But really amazing stuff. Eventually, when all 3 of those books are out, I'm going to do a proper video on it. The Walt Simonson Star Slammers complete collection from IDW in like a full oversized. It's basically absolute edition size. And then the Godzilla Half Century War, also from IDW, James Stokoe. Really awesome art, also super oversized. And then down here, the last little bit of the shelf has my Humanoids slipcase oversized, which is Final Incall, and the Techno Priests, just kind of hanging out down there because there's no really other place to put them right now. So that's the previous record shelf, which has been turned into absolute size books. I'm liking the way it's displaying all the books and everything. I just need to kind of rearrange them to be a little bit more logical, and I think some of these I still will trade away. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep the Promethea books because they are worth a lot in value, and I might trade those for something else once I read them. No, I'm not sure, but yeah, that's that first shelf. Let's take a quick break and go on to the next one. Alrighty, let's keep this train rolling with this shelf. This shelf is probably the most in flux of any of the ones that I have. I basically, like, a large reason that I moved the absolutes was so that I could free up space on this shelf, because I foresee myself buying more things that fit into these categories. So let's get started. Up at the top, we have the 6 Hellboy Library editions. Have not read that series at all, but I am excited for it. These are nice books, which if you are a collector, you probably have seen before. They have like cloth binding, and they look really nice. Hellboy in Hell just finished up the last bit of the Hellboy saga, so I don't know if we're going to be getting a Hellboy Volume 7, or maybe just a Hellboy, I don't know what it's going to be called, but hopefully another library edition to finish that. Here's the 2 Fear Agent library editions. I've done a video of these on my channel. I like these books. I don't, I'm not like mega in love with them. I think they are good action sci-fi books. Over here we have the Goon Library. I am not sure what I think about these. Because of the way that I collect, oftentimes I will buy things when they first come out because that's when they're the least expensive. And I bought the Goon books on, everybody's recommendation, really loving them. And flipping through them, it doesn't look like it's exactly my cup of tea. So I think I'm going to read the first one pretty soon to decide if I want to keep collecting these, and if not, kind of trade them away, because I'm not, particularly wedded to this series, and I need to read it a little bit before I keep collecting it, because it doesn't look like it's going to be completely up my alley. But interesting nonetheless. The Massive, this looks very cool. I have not started it yet, but I am excited too. It's kind of like a post-disaster military epic from Brian Wood. And I don't know the artist, but it looks very nice. There's going to be at least 2 or 3 more library editions from Dark Horse of that. Sin City, the Frank Miller library. This is the slipcase version with all of the different stories in their own individual books. And I think there's like an art of Sin City in there as well. This is like a little older, one of the earlier library editions that Dark Horse ever did. And then here are 2 Jeff Darrow oversized books. The Big Guy and Rusty the Boy Robot, as well as Shaolin Cowboy, the Dark Horse series, not the original Burly Man one, collected in those library edition size books. So, very nice. And then continuing down here is actually another Dark Horse shelf of just a variety of different things. So, this is BPRD 1 through 4, the Plague of Frogs books in hardcover. I know for a time, number 3 I know was really expensive. I think it still is relatively expensive, but I don't know if people are as... Sorry. I don't know if people are as interested in picking it up. I'm not sure. It just feels like I don't hear about it as much. Up here, there's the Ring of the Nibelung, the opera adaptation from P. Craig Russell, which adapts the Richard Wagner's opera, which had a lot of influence on the Lord of the Rings and the Flight of the Valkyrie. If you know that song is from that book, or not from the book, from the opera. The Savage Sword of Conan. I have 1, 2, 4, 7, and 8. 1 and 2 I got, I don't know, in trades a while ago. I don't remember. There's also a local comic shop near me which has like all of these books, and so I went and picked up a few of the ones that are kind of creeping up in price a little bit. Eventually I would like to get that whole series, because I do like these are basically like, I think they're $20 each cover price, and they're quite thick. They are basically like phone book style in their kind of paper quality and stuff and size, but they are all black and white collections of the Savage Sword magazine from the 70s. Here's a couple Dark Horse manga books, Appleseed and Venus Wars. A couple different, these are sort of out of order, this is just random. There's a Savage Sword of Kull, which collects the Kull stories from the same Savage Sword magazine. Originally, it ran some Kull stories in there as well. Collect some of those. There's also Chronicles of Kull, volume... I have like 2, 3, and 4 or something like that, which collects the colored, the couple mini-series from Kull. And then I also have randomly volume 28 of the Conan books, which is collections of the Marvel Conan series from years and years and years. This is the Usagi Yojimbo Dark Horse stuff that I have. Volume 1 hardcover is notoriously difficult to find and very expensive, so I just have it in softcover, and that doesn't bother me that much. And then I have 2 through 6 in the limited edition hardcovers. Here's one on the side that I just picked up recently, and I really don't know what to think about it. This is the Dean Motter's Mr. X, the Modern Age. This was a limited signed version that Dark Horse put out. It collects... I was a little bit... To be honest with you, I was a little bit confused as to what it was, and I don't think I would have bought it if I didn't know what it was. If I had known what it was, rather. And it basically collects like a bunch of mini-series and a bunch of other short stories from Mr. X, which is a Dean Motter character from the 80s, I believe. But this is the stuff that Dark Horse did, the more modern runs, all collected in one book. So it looks kind of neat, but I haven't read the older stuff. Like I said, I thought this was like a complete collection of all of the things. I didn't realize it was only going to be the Dark Horse things, because I guess I didn't do my research on that one. But yeah, it looks interesting. Maybe when I get the older Mr. X stuff, eventually I'll read it. But if not, I'll just hold on to this, because I'm sure one day it's probably going to be worth money, because Dark Horse limited signed editions, as you can tell with the Usagi things, they tend to go up in price. So down here is where we start the DC books, and this is the reason really that I expanded the shelf. So if you look down at the shelf, it's the bottom 3 shelves are basically empty, and those were the books that were in my Absolute collection that are now over there. These are IKEA Billy shelves that I'm using, and one thing that is interesting to note about them, if you are a nerdy collector like myself, is that the middle shelf, this one, is stationary and cannot be adjusted. It is going to be at the middle of the bookshelf no matter what you do. So this one next to it also has it, and the third one I have also has the same place. Now what that means is, if you decide to create shelves that are just the right size for holding omnibus books, right, which are basically like the perfect size for collecting both Marvel Omni, you can see right there, and DC Omni, you will end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equally distributed shelving spaces, which is great. It's awesome because obviously it fits standard size hardcovers with a little bit of spare room to put the odd book up there if you want, and it also fits all these deluxe editions. The problem that I was running into is if you create shelves which are 12 inches tall, which fit the Absolute editions, then you would end up with 2 oversized Absolute edition shelves, and then the other shelves would be kind of scrunched up because of that. So basically the reason that I switched the Absolutes over is because I want to, in the future, be able to add to my DC Omnibus collection, because there's a lot of cool material coming out. DC's doing an amazing job with these Silver Age. They're going to start the Bronze Age collection soon, and there's also Golden Age stuff. They're doing an amazing job with that line of Omni, and I know that I'm going to be picking up a decent amount of them going forward. And there's also older DC books that I'm interested in picking up in Omnibus collections that I just haven't gotten around to. So yeah, basically I'm leaving this space of my shelf kind of open for right now, just to, eventually what I'm going to do is flip all of the Vertigo stuff up a shelf, and then take the DC stuff and then run the DC Omni down these like bottom 3 or 4 shelves as I collect more of them. So, but for right now, this DC one is on top because that's how I had it previously. I have the Flash Omni over here, which is de facto the Silver Age Omnibus Volume 1. It just says Flash Omnibus Volume 1, but later this year, there's going to be a Silver Age Omnibus Flash Volume 2 coming out, so apparently this was the Volume 1 of Silver Age Flash. I mean, I know it is, but it wasn't labeled as such when it was released. Supergirl Silver Age Volume 1. This is backup stories from Action Comics and other Superman stuff, which is contained in there. Camelot 3000, a deluxe book from Brian Boland, on art, which is, I think, what most people remember it for, but I have not read this, but I will eventually. It's not, I don't think it's meant to be, like, amazing. I think it's just sort of good. The Wonder Woman George Perez Omnibus. I have not read this yet. I'm interested to see if we get more content in this, like, run of Wonder Woman, because I think it went on beyond this, but I think these are only the issues that Perez wrote and drew. I think there might be stuff that he was like only the writer on at some point, so I don't know if we're going to collect these. Which, by the way, this whole series is organized chronologically as well. I tend to do that with my books. Killing Joke and Gothic, 2 Batman, like sort of mini-series collected in these deluxe editions. Kingdom Come, Mark Waid, Alex Ross series from the 90s. Have not read that all the way through. Read the first 2 issues, and then stopped. But I need to go back and read that all. Grant Morrison's JLA run. I think there's 4 of these. I have 1 and 3. I need to get 2 and 4. It also goes on beyond 2 and 4. It goes on to like I think 7 or 8 of these in paperback form, where Mark Waid wrote some of them. I am interested. I'm wondering if we're going to get a JLA omnibus of this time period of stuff eventually. I'm not sure. Batman Year 100, Paul Pope, another Batman miniseries. Walter Simonson's Orion book, continuing on some of the ideas from The New Gods and Fourth World. The Flash Omnibus from Johns, volumes 1 and 3. I just lost out on a bet, or on an eBay bid for volume 2 the other day. I'm having a really hard time finding volume 2 at a decent price. Volume 2 seems to be going for about $200 or so online, and I really don't want to pay that for it. I want to pay like between 75 and 125, somewhere in there. So I'm having a hard time getting that, but eventually I hope I will. The Gotham Central Omnibus, the Greg Rucka and Ed Brubaker series with Michael Lark on art. Very cool. 52 Omnibus, the weekly series of the 52 universe when the Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman Trinity was gone for a year after Infinite Crisis. Teen Titans from Jeff Johns, hugely massive wide Omni, collects the Teen Titans Jeff Johns run. Solo, I've talked about that in a previous haul video. The Batman Planetary Deluxe one-shot, Superman Secret Identity, Batman R.I.P., Batwoman Elegy, Judas Coin graphic novel, Scott Snyder Swamp Thing, Green Arrow by Jeff Lemire, and Multiversity. These are all just kind of like R.I.P. is one of the ones that's in Grant Morrison's Batman. The rest of them are all sort of mini stories and little collections and graphic novels. The last three, the Swamp Thing, Green Arrow, and Multiversity, are the deluxe editions for New 52 runs. So exciting that we're actually getting them collected like that. Down here, we move into Vertigo. These are not collected chronologically. This is like sort of a loose alphabetical, just whatever I feel like doing, because I don't feel like chronological really makes sense for Vertigo, because they don't have that many series. Oh my god, I have so many yawns today. Ooh, so unprofessional. Here's the first 200 bullet books. I'm looking to pick up the other ones, but it's just not on my priority list. I'll get them eventually. Animal Man, the Omnibus from Grant Morrison. I did a review on that, and it's very cool and trippy and interesting. Books of Magic, a Neil Gaiman miniseries. DMZ, volumes 1 and 2, I got from a nice fellow online who traded me from them. Another series from Brian Wood, which I think is probably kind of similar to, like, in tone to, like, The Massive, sort of like a locked down, kind of like like a World War III kind of scenario. A couple Fables Deluxes, just have them in there for shits and giggles, but I haven't really read the series, and I don't really know if I plan to. The Grant Morrison Invisible set, 1 through 4. I have read number 1, and then I stopped. I don't know why. I need to go back and continue that, and then do a review on them, because I am a huge Grant Morrison fan. The iZomni, that'd be kind of cool. The iZomni, I'm just going to call it that. The iZomni, iZombie Omnibus. Whew! Have not gotten around to that, but I love Mike Allred art. Ocean Orbiter from Warren Ellis. Punk Rock Jesus from Sean Murphy. I finished that a while ago, and I need to do a review on that. Sandman Overture from Neil Gaiman. The first 4 deluxes in Scalped from Aaron and R.M. Guerra. The Sleeper Omnibus, really looking forward to that. Some crime noir stuff from Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. The 2 Sweet Tooth Deluxes that are out right now. I think the third one's coming out pretty soon. The Grant Morrison Filth hardcover, Flex Mentallo, Kid Eternity, as well as Kill Your Boyfriend, as well as We 3. So all of these are Grant Morrison deluxes with different people. And then a couple different standard size, 100% Nobody, Sergeant Rock, and a little Constantine Hellblazer collected over there on the side. This shelf is totally empty except for just some paperbacks that are sideways. The Teen Titans run, I started to get some of the Unknown Soldier run from recently, as well as some Alan Moore Swamp Thing, and so just random crap. Down here we have some of the books that I have, some of the reason that I have started to move the shelves around for is because I'm going to start collecting more of these kind of books. This is the Justice League of America Volume 2 Silver Age Omnibus. Similar to the Flash situation, there was a JLA Silver Age book, but it was not the same, like, cover style and like, labeling, or, you know, it wasn't in the same line. They didn't have the Silver Age Omnibus line at that point, so it just is Justice League Omnibus. And then here is Suicide Squad Silver Age Volume 1, collects the, like, classic, these were all, I mean, this was totally different back then. It was all, like, DC war comics where these, you know, soldiers went to fight, like, T-Rexes in the jungle and shit. Like, it was totally different from what the comic and the movie is now. Here's the Green Lantern Omnibus Volume 1. I sort of I'm not going to say mistakenly, because I meant to get it, but I just picked this up the other day for like $25, very cheap, but I realized that there's going to be a Silver Age Omnibus series starting for Green Lantern, and I think the first Silver Age one that they're going to release soon is basically going to collect the same content that's in this, the same content that's in the two that they already put out, but kind of spread differently. So I don't know if I'm going to hold on to that. That might be a trade away eventually if they do end up collecting the same content. Here's Ex Machina 1 through 5, just in weird order, a Wildstorm series from Brian K. Vaughan and Tony Harris, which I have not read, but I've heard great things about. And a bunch of random paperbacks I'm looking to sell, just like Eternals and Excalibur and a bunch of just random Marvel stuff. Oop, stay in your place, Suicide Squad. And then an empty shelf for expansion. Yay, actually having an empty shelf. Okay, let's continue on our journey of Marvel shelfdom. This entire shelf is all Marvel stuff, as you can see. It's astonishing, actually, how much Marvel I have. I never expected to have this much Marvel when I started this endeavor. But up here we have the OHCs that I have, oversized hardcovers, all arranged in chronological order, sort of relatively so. This is the Captain Britain stuff from the late 70s. This is the Wolverine miniseries stuff, as well as a few other Wolverine stories in there. These are all X-Men oversized hardcover crossovers from the Chris Claremont run. It's like sort of short runs that were collected in oversized, as well as some of the crossovers. Daredevil Father, as well as the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 from the Kevin Smith / Bendis Daredevil run. I don't have 5 because I traded it away because it's like worth something, and I have the Omnibus, which collects the same content. So, Fantastic Four from Mark Waid, only Volume 3. There's also a Volume 1 and 2, but I have not been able to find them for good prices. Yellow, Blue, and Gray by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, which collects the Yellow series, the Blue series, and the Gray series from Spider-Man, Daredevil, and Hulk. Civil War, Millar and McNiven, as well as the Punisher Max run from Garth Ennis, including Born and First to Last. Astonishing X-Men by Whedon and Cassaday. Don't need these anymore because I found the Omnibus in the wild for $30, which was exciting. But yeah, don't need these anymore, so I'll probably trade those at some point. Captain America White, which is another continuation of the Colors series over here, but this time doing Captain America from Loeb and Sale. Runaways hardcovers, Volume 1 and 2. There's also a 3, but I haven't gotten it for a good price yet. Nyx, or NYX, the Daughter of Wolverine series in hardcover. Eternals from Neil Gaiman and John Romita Jr. Very cheap and well available series. This is like an Avengers original graphic novel from Warren Ellis. I have no idea what it is, really. And then this up here starts my Marvel Now collection, which is not in chronological order, it's just in alphabetical. So those are the first 3 Avengers books, as well as New Avengers down here, as well as Avengers Time Runs Out, all from Hickman. There's the Mark Waid Daredevil run, 1 through 5, which is going to be getting an omnibus later this year, or maybe 2017, maybe, I think. Inhuman hardcover, the first Miss Marvel, which is also getting an omnibus later. The Superior Spider-Man 1 through 3, the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, as well as Spider-Verse. The Thor God of Thunder from Jason Aaron, 1 and 2. As well as all new X-Men from Bendis 1 through 4, and Uncanny X-Men 1. There's going to be a 2 of that pretty soon. Battle of the Atom, which is a X-Men crossover event. Secret Wars, which is the sort of capstone event to the whole Marvel Now experience. And Avengers Standoff, which is the first hardcover collection in the All New, All Different series that's been relaunched, and then Darth Vader, the oversized hardcover from the most recent Star Wars relaunch from Marvel. This is my little Ultimates section, the Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 1. This is like an X-Library copy, so it's got like a little barcode up there, and it's in pretty medium shape. The oversized hardcovers 4 and 5, as well as Ultimate Comics Doomsday, which I picked up for like $5 or something like that. Oh, sorry, $11, so pretty cheap. Just because I heard it kind of factors into some of the Ultimate stuff and some of the Secret Wars stuff, as well as the Ultimates Volume 1 from Millar and Hitch, I believe. And I have not read this yet, but I do want to get around to it because I'm interested to see what I think of it. I'm not sure if I'm going to like it or not. And then this starts my Marvel Omnibus collection, which is pretty much this whole rest of the shelf except for a little bit of space there and there, which I have for expansion. This is in relatively chronological order. Basically, the way I try to do it is by the first issue of each book going next to next to next, so to sort of see how the company evolved over time. So it starts off with Golden Age Cap, which is obviously like 30s and 40s stuff from Jack Kirby and Joe Simon way back in the day. There's also Fantastic Four, so this is kind of like 1960, I think 2 or 3, I'm not sure, the start of the like Marvel Age of comics, the Silver Age. Amazing Spider-Man, the first one from Lee and Ditko. The second one is getting a reprinting pretty soon, I think this year. Invincible Iron Man, the older, this is the movie variant, unfortunately. I would rather have the other one, but that's what was available to me. Avengers Volume 1, Fantastic Four Volume 2, which continues from the earlier series. Captain America Volume 1, the Silver Age stuff. Mighty Thor Volume 2. Volume 1 is like way expensive right now. Super expensive. It's like $400 book, and I don't know, it just went out of print and went up crazy. Avengers Volume 2, continuing off from the first Silver Age Avengers. Shield, late 60s. Jack Kirby stuff with Jim Stranko in there as well. Absolutely love that book. Amazing book. Invincible Iron Man, the second continuation of the Silver Age stuff. This is the the second of the Silver Age X-Men. This is the one with Neil Adams did a number of issues and where Roy Thomas took over. I think this is from like issue 30 until like 60 something, and then from 60 until like 90, it becomes a reprint series until Uncanny kicks off in the 70s. The third Fantastic Four, again, kind of late in the 60s, as well as Captain America 2. And then that sort of is like roughly the end of my Silver Age stuff. This sort of encapsulates Marvel's Silver Age basically right there. Then we get into kind of the beginnings of the Bronze Age, where it became a little bit more horror oriented for a little while. We get Man-Thing Omnibus. Have not read, but I'm interested in reading that. There's also, if I had them, but I don't, the Tomb of Dracula Omni would go fit in right around here, and Werewolf by Night down here, another horror kind of anthology book from the early 70s. John Carter, Warlord of Mars. That was one of the, I think, earlier reviews I did on this channel. A cool adaptation of the Edgar Rice Burroughs John Carter stuff. The Jack Kirby Captain America, which is the run on Cap that Jack Kirby did when he came back to Marvel in the late 70s, mid-late 70s. Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu. The first of, I think, 4 of these. This is not the desirable cover. There was like a Jim Starlin variant cover, but I just got the whatever one, just the regular ass one, because I didn't really want to pay. It was like $6 extra online, and the content's the same, so whatever. This is the Uncanny X-Men Omnibus Volume 1, which is when Giant Size X-Men came out, and then Claremont started his run on Uncanny with, I think, like X-Men 92. Don't quote me on that, though. Star Wars, the Marvel Years Classic Omni Volume 1. Devil Dinosaur, one of the Jack Kirby Omnibus, also from the late 70s. The Iron Man, the Michelini, Romita Jr., and Layton run from the starting in the late 70s. Daredevil from Frank Miller, which kind of crosses over from 70s to like early 80s. Fantastic Four by John Byrne, the first one, quite thick from, again, 80s. Uncanny X-Men Volume 2, where we have kind of Claremont and Byrne working together, once again, getting into the middle to early 80s. The Captain Britain Omnibus, which is Alan Moore's run on Captain Britain, along with Alan Davis and Jimmy Delano, I don't know, which is, I think, like sort of 84-ish onwards. The original Marvel Years Star Wars Volume 2. Spider-Man by Roger Stern, which is like the classic mid-80s run, I believe introduces like the Hobgoblin and all that stuff. Uncanny Volume 3, sort of getting into the like mid to later 80s, as well as Fantastic Four by Byrne Volume 2, getting down into Star Wars, the Marvel Years Volume 3, Secret Wars from Jim Shooter and Mike Zeck, crossover stuff in like 1986 or 7, I think. West Coast Avengers, Volume 1. And then this is the Frank Miller companion reprint I had the original a while ago, but I sold it because my original was kind of damaged and janky. This is the reprint, which does the Born Again stuff as well as the Man Without Fear. Here's the honkin' massive Squadron Supreme Classic Omnibus, which collects the earlier appearances of Squadron Supreme, as well as the 1985 Squadron Supreme miniseries, which is what the original Omnibus collected. There was an original Squadron Supreme Omnibus that was much thinner than this, that just had the mid-'80s stuff. The Elektra Omnibus, this is a reprint as well, the second printing from the later 80s Bill Sienkiewicz and Frank Miller stuff. West Coast Avengers Volume 2, Evolutionary War, Avengers by John Byrne, which is de facto West Coast Volume 3, as well as some other stuff from the kind of late 80s, turn of the 90s. And then we start to really get into, right into the 80s, late 80s and 90s with Amazing Spider-Man. This is the Michelini-McFarlane run, which has the kind of famous, the introduction of Venom and the black suit symbiote and all that stuff. X-Men by Claremont and Lee. This is I think this is the variant cover. I don't know. I have it, but I don't really know why. It's just the one that I had at the time. This is the 90s run, where you start to sort of the end of Claremont's run and the beginning of Jim Lee and Mark Silvestri doing a lot of the art on that. This is the most recent thing in my collection. This is the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man Omnibus. This is when McFarlane did his own Spider-Man series. Once again, in 1990. It's just 16 issues in there or something. It's very small. The Infinity Gauntlet crossover event with Jim Starlin doing his thing with Thanos. X-Men Volume 2, which once again is more of the early 90s X-Men run from Jim Lee. The Untold Tales of Spider-Man. This is a series from Kurt Busiek from the mid to late 90s that he was working on, which I think was supposed to tell stories around the same time as that original run on Spider-Man, but just kind of new and interesting stories in that time period. Invincible Iron Man, another Kurt Busiek run from the middle, late 90s with Sean Chen. Then down here we get into more Kurt Busiek. Kurt Busiek was really killing it in the late 90s, or at least he was one of the only respectable writers that was, I think, going on in the late 90s. A lot of people were moving on to Image Comics and just drawing really radical 90s stuff, but it didn't have a lot of story content. Avengers from 1 and 2. This is the Avengers from Kurt Busiek and George Perez. Volumes 1 and 2 from I think 98 until maybe 2000 or something like that. Somewhere around there. I'm not really sure what the hard dates are. This is the second omnibus from Bendis on Daredevil. I don't have the first one. Hopefully there's a reprinting of that eventually, but this is Omnibus Volume 2. The new X-Men from Grant Morrison with art from Frank Quitely as well as a number of other people. The X-Statix Omnibus from Milligan and Allred. Really fun, cool book. I really enjoyed this book a lot. It's sort of different from a lot of other things that I've read, but it's really cool. The Alias Omnibus from Bendis and Gatos, which is the Max Omnibus, one of the only Max Omnibus, I think. Annihilation, the beginning of Modern Marvel Cosmic from Abnett and Lanning. My Captain America set from Brubaker, which is not complete, but has the first cap, and then it skips 2 and 3, and then it has a Trial of Captain America and Return of the Winter Soldier. I do have Captain America Lives on the way right now, which I got for a really great price, and I'm super excited to pick up. But I don't have Death of Cap, and I don't know when or how I'm going to get that because it's a $200 book at least, so I don't know. Astonishing X-Men. I found this copy, this exact copy, which you can see is a little bit beat up. I found this for $32 at a used bookstore the other day. I was very excited about that. I never thought I would have this omnibus because it's been going up in price, and I had the hardcover, the oversized hardcover, so I was fine with that, but was able to find this omnibus, was very excited. Uncanny X-Force, got this a while back. This is a Rick Remender run with a couple different artists, which kind of continues the new X-Men, Astonishing X-Men ideas a little bit. This is way out of place. This is the Incredible Hulk omnibus. This should be up here, around there, probably in between Iron Man and Spider-Man or something like that. But it's way out of place. But I just got it recently, so I just stuck it here because I was lazy. And Annihilation Conquest, which again is more of the modern Marvel cosmic stuff. Then we have a little bit of shelf space to expand, not much, and then a little bit more shelf space down here, again, not much. We go into the Immortal Iron Fist, the Brubaker and Fraction book, which is very cool. Love that run. Thor from Straczynski, very neat, but I've not read it, but I've heard that it basically doesn't finish. Like, there's more stuff that comes after that I think Kieran Gillen or somebody worked on, so I'm not sure if they're going to collect that in a sort of a hardcover format, because I think there's some complete collections. I don't really know. I would be interested to know what people think about that. The Brubaker Volume 2 Daredevil Omnibus, they just announced a reprint of Volume 1, so I'm super glad to have that in my collection. Secret Wars, the Hickman-Bendis crossover event. Or actually, I don't think it was an event. I think it was just a Secret Wars series. I don't know, but I've heard really good things about that. That's kind of the start of Hickman's run at Marvel, as well as supposedly one of the best Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. stories. The Abnett and Lanning Guardians Omnibus. I picked this up because I've heard really great things about the series, but very soon after realized that the contents of this book, this entire book, is going to be collected across a couple of other War and Realm of Kings omnibus. So this is kind of like an extra Omni that I don't know if anybody's going to buy in the future, because it's not... I mean, I guess you could get it if you are just into Guardians, but there's no real reason to own it because it's going to be collected across other books. Hickman's Fantastic Four 1 and 2. I know 1 is like super expensive now, went up in price, and then this is Volume 2, which I think is still like in the normal kind of price range. Continues Hickman's work at Marvel. Jason Aaron Wolverine. I just got this because I found it used somewhere for like $40. I don't really know if I'm ever going to get around to reading that. Wolverine and the X-Men by Aaron. This looks kind of neat. I think it's like a if Wolverine ran the school, like the Charles Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters for a while, so I'm excited for that. Uncanny Avengers, which is Remender stuff, and I'm pretty sure carries over from Uncanny X-Force previously, so similar themes to that. Stephen King's Dark Tower, the slipcase Omni, which I really got because it has Jay Lee art in it, and I think Jay Lee is just fan-flippantastic. The Hawkeye Omnibus, the Young Avengers Omnibus, and the Superior Foes of Spider-Man Omnibus. All these tiny little thin Omni that Marvel is putting out these days, because none of their series get above 20 issues anymore. So it's hard to put Omnibus out for them. Just kidding, there's a couple. But yeah, that's my Marvel collection. Scooting over right next to me is some of my like bigger oversized books over here. I have, this is just kind of a mess. There's like a bunch of books everywhere. But I have the first 2 of the Tarzan Sunday comics from Dark Horse. These are like huge, massive, gigantic books that reprint the Sunday pages from the Tarzan comics way back in the day when Hal Foster was doing them before he did Prince Valiant. And they are beautiful. I have a couple different of like IDW artist portfolio things. This is a Bernie Wrightson one, and then I have a Neil Adams one. In here I have the Alien hardcover art version, which is kind of like an artist edition for Walt Simonson's Alien adaptation with Archie Goodwin. The art of Vampire Hunter D, which is kind of a cool... I really like Yoshitaka Amano. I really like his style, so there's a book of his illustrations. The Inkall books, the coffee table sized ones with all of the 6 chapters in there. The Wednesday comics, which I talked about in a haul not too long ago, which is like a more recent DC newspaper style thing. And this is kind of a cool one I picked up recently, the Hermes Press Buck Rogers, it's upside down, Buck Rogers Sundays. So Sunday strips from one of the very, very original comic book, not even comic book, back when it was like Sunday strips like I was saying. So a very, very old collection, but pretty cool. And then we're going to transition over to here, which is the final shelf, which is kind of the hodgepodge shelf, I guess I would call it at this point. It's a little bit of everything. Up at the top, I have my EC comic stuff, weird fantasy, weird science, as well as weird science fantasy. I just can't, I can never get over that name. The Complete Tales from the Crypt and the Piracy Aces High Psychoanalysis, an extra box set. So I'm always looking to pick these up. Some of the ones that are more desirable, like was it The Haunt of Terror? I'm blanking on them. I don't know what their names are off the top of my head, but those are more in like the $200 range, sort of upper $100 and something dollars, and I just don't have the money to do that right now. Here's 2 Prince Valiant hardcovers, volumes 1 and 2. The first of the Crepax or Crepax Fantagraphics books that are coming out. Really excited to keep getting those. A little Arzak bust and his box. The Sixth Gun Oversized books. A tiny little Tintin volume right there. Wits End, the Fantagraphics Wally Wood box, and 8-Ball behind the Arzak thing. This is my manga shelf. It's completely neglected. I haven't added anything to it in probably like a year and a half. I mean, I just don't read that much manga, honestly. It's got a couple of Rurouni Kenshin ones, which it's probably like the most recent thing on here by a lot. Actually, Vinland Saga is more recent too. I really like Vinland Saga a lot. And then the rest of it is all basically Osamu Tezuka, the creator of Astro Boy, Jungle Emperor Leo, Metropolis Phoenix. Just, I mean, I'm an amazing guy. I want to talk about him eventually, but it's going to take a lot more reading on my part just because I don't know as much about him as I should to be able to, coherently talk about it. This shelf is just sort of a mix of different things. We have the Frazetta White Indian series that Vanguard did, like a slipcase, which collects some of that stuff, which is pretty cool. It's like older timey. Opera adaptations, P. Craig Russell, similar to Ring of the Nibelung, just stuff that P. Craig Russell was working on. Hard Boiled, I really want to see this in a hardcover one day because this is such a cool little mini series. Frank Miller and Jeff Darrow. The Zenith run from 2000 AD from Steve Yowell and Grant Morrison. 4 of those. Samurai: The Heart of the Prophet. This is a Titan Comics thing. It's like a European comic, which is a take on Samurai. The first 2 G.I. Joe Complete collections from IDW, as well as the first 2 Lock and Keys. I think the 3rd Lock and Key Master Quest, little Zelda reference for you. The 3rd Lock and Key Master Edition, I think, is coming out pretty soon. Simonson's Ragnarok, the first hardcover from that series. And then this is all Image stuff, mostly. I think pretty much completely. The Casanova stuff, East of West, Fatale 1 and 2, which are split up. 5 Ghosts, Rat Queens, Big Heart Sex Criminals, Nameless, Nailbiter, Wicked and Divine, The Airboy, Little Mini, Lazarus 1 and 2, Scene of the Crime, The Godland, 3 Celestial Ones, Silver Star. This is just a Wally Wood Wizard King trilogy book. Should really go over here because it's another Vanguard one. And then up here I have this kind of cool thing which I've been collecting. I'll do a video on these eventually. The AXA books. It's sort of like a adult, like very risque, adult-oriented British comic series from the 80s. Kind of like a take on Conan, but female form and bustier and topless a lot. So very cool. I'm collecting those, and then eventually I might bind them into my own like little book because I think they're pretty neat. This is my I'm just gonna call it my shrine shelf at this point. I don't really know what to call it, but it's basically like my 2 favorite Silver Age artists, Joe Kubert and Jack Kirby, or at least if not my 2 favorite, then 2 of my most favorite. And this is a lot of archives and different collections that they had. So the Sky Masters thing, which I talked about, which is a strip collection that Jack Kirby worked on. This is a very recent release. I'm very happy to have this. The Joe Kubert Tarzan, which they put out in archive editions that were similar to these, like DC archives, but I didn't have them. They were kind of hard to come by. So glad to get this. This is the full Tarzan run from Joe Kubert. From the 70s in one. Really nice. It's a really nice paperback. Like, it feels really chunky and nice. This is the Enemy Ace and Sergeant Rock archives from DC. This is the full Enemy Ace stuff, I think, all the stuff that Joe Kubert worked on. And this is not the full Sergeant Rock run by any means, but it's four, four books which collect a lot of his Sergeant Rock work. And then this is the Jack Kirby, like, newsprint section. I don't know what you want to call this. It was a series of Omni that were standard size that DC put out quite a while ago, and they collected a bunch of different Jack Kirby things. I'm missing a couple of them, and there's also a couple, like, Joe Kubert and, oh my god, why am I blanking on his name? Steve Ditko. I was about to say, there's also a couple of Joe Kubert and Steve Ditko ones in this style. So, the Demon, the Fourth World Omnibus, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I don't know why I have them out of order. Command-E Volume 1 and Command-E Volume 2. Sorry that these are out of order. The Losers, which is a Jack Kirby military one. Newsboy Legion, which is like back from the 30s. Sandman, also back from the 30s. Challenges of the Unknown, a sort of pre-Fantastic Four 50s comic that Kirby was working on. And then the Jack Kirby Omnibus 1 and 2, which are like sort of his superhero stuff that he did for DC in like the 70s. This is kind of my, like, general indie and independent publisher shelf. I don't really have, like, any particular reason for the way that these are organized. Like I said, it kind of falls apart as we get further down the shelf. I have Criminal over here. It's upside down, but I have it, which was published by Icon, which was an imprint of Marvel. Criminal from Brubaker and Phillips. I have the 3 Michael Moorcock library books that have come out from Titan, which I'm going to get more of, which these are all Elric ones, really lovely art in them. A couple different Judge Dredd books from 2000 AD, nothing particularly special. I'm not like, I would like to be into Judge Dredd, but I'm not particularly that knowledgeable of it. The Nausicaa box set, this was a really recent edition, the Rachel Rising Omnibus, which is the hardcover standard version, collects the full Rachel Rising series. Cinema Purgatorio, Alan Moore, like anthology series that he's curating for Avatar. The Usagi Yojimbo softcover slipcase from Fantagraphics, which collects the early Usagi stuff. Puma Blues from Dover Books, or Dover Publishing or whatever, which is like a really arty-farty kind of illustration thing. The Eternaut over here, which I'm currently reading, but that's the book for it. And then this is all like Dungeons and Dragons manuals and stuff. And then down here, this is kind of my like loosely European section / just other stuff. Like I said, the organization is questionable. The Tipping Point from Humanoids, which is an oversized anthology from them. My Blueberry collection, which it has some Blueberry books from Mobius and Charlier from different time periods, and I want to get more of those. Arc from Humanoids, Before the Incall from Humanoids, Metabarons, Shamanism, Son of the Gun, Bouncer. My other Bouncer collection, which is the full collection, is over there because I'm about to start reading it. A couple Jeff Lemire books, Essex County, Mouse, Underwater Welder. I also have the Essex County hardcover slipcase over here, but this one's just been around forever. I think I actually meant to give this away in a video like a long time ago, and it totally just never happened because I didn't really understand how to find my subscribers or something stupid like that because I was a moron. So, sorry for that. Mouse, the slipcase one with volumes 1 and 2, Black Hole, Wonton Soup, Battling Boy, a couple Queen and Countries, Bone, a couple more Queen and Countries, Essex County. The Wasteland series, I just picked these up the other day from a used bookstore from Oni Press, and I'm interested in that, so I want to kind of get a little more knowledge on those. Tom Strong, I don't know why this is over here. It should be on the other shelf, but this is a America's Best Comics Alan Moore series. And then down here, I kind of loosely have like a quote-unquote archive section. This is kind of like black and white and older archive books. So the Corto Maltese stuff from IDW, which is like much older, some of the first graphic novel art stuff. Dynamite published this really nice Doc Savage archive, which is the 80s Curtis magazine, 70s Curtis magazines from Marvel. It's like just 8 magazines of black and white Doc Savage stuff. It's very nice. My 2 eerie and creepy archives that I have, which is basically like literally, I think 1/25 of all the books that are out there. And then 2 of the Tor volumes, as well as Thunda, King of the Congo, a Frank Frazetta thing. And then over here is just a random hodgepodge of like, just books that are not super important to me that have just kind of been piling up. Kabuki, I want to sell at some point. And, yeah. that's basically the end of the collection. So, whew, we did it. It's got to be an hour of video. I recorded this in a couple parts, so that's a lot of video out there for you guys to chew on. But I hope you enjoyed hearing my thoughts on most of the pieces of my collection. Unfortunately, I've probably only read like 30% of this stuff, just because of the time period, commitments the amount of books that I buy is disproportionate to the amount of time that I have to read. But I hope you enjoyed me spieling about some of these books, and maybe they made you want to check them out, or maybe they made you want to skip some. I don't know. That's the beauty of personal opinion, is I never know what exactly you're thinking, and you never know what exactly I'm thinking. So, yeah, if you liked any of these things and you'd like to see reviews on them, please leave me comments pointing to different books that you'd like to see me review. And if you're interested in my organizational attempts at organizational ideas, it's somewhat in flux all the time, but if you're interested in the way I organize stuff, leave me comments, drop me messages or whatever, and I will be back not too distant future with even more videos for you. So, peace out, guys. Thank you so much for watching and contributing to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.